Alrighty, so we have this proportion. Excuse me. Okay, so if this proportion 0.5 over x equals 1.4 over 0.7. Now, we've got to figure out what the unknown number is so that this is equal to this, right? And we can do a thing called cross multiplication. That's where you take this number multiplied by this number, and that should equal this number multiplied by this number, right? So in other words, 0.5 times 0.7 should be equal to, x times 1.4, right? And so that's kind of the first step, and then we can solve for x. Before we go any further, let me just show you one quick example as to why this works. So 3/6 is what? Simplify 3/6 for me.
3/6, 1/2.
It's 1/2, right? And just for fun, what's 5/10?
1/2.
So we know that both of these are definitely a half. Like that's a half,
Yes.
and that's a half. Right. So what happens when we do cross multiplication? Just to prove that it works.
30 times, or 3
right.
times 10 is 30. 6 times 5 is 30.
Right. Exactly. Right. So 3 times 10, which is 30, equals 6 times 5, which is 30. So this trick does work. This cross multiplication trick is really true. Now we can't check it here because we have an unknown number, but it's a useful trick if we want to get from a proportion, which is a fraction equal to a fraction, into an equation. Now, we can solve for x at this point because x has been multiplied by 1.4. What's the inverse operation of multiplying by 1.4?
Dividing?
Yes. Yes. Yep. You divide.
So you would divide by
1.4 on both sides.
On both sides, yeah.
Okay. All right. So, on the right, there are a lot of students want to divide by 1.4x. That's incorrect. You just divide by 1.4. The 1.4
right,
cross
you want to
cancels.
get x by itself.
You have x by itself. So we have x by itself, which is good. Now we just have to calculate this guy over here, and then we have our answer, right?
Right.
So what I'm going to do is, let's see. There's a number of things we could do. I guess we could multiply the top. Let's just do that. 0.5 times 0.7 and see what that gives us, right?
35, 0.35.
Yeah, 5 times 7, 35. And we have 2 decimal places in the question, so we should have 1, 2 in the answer. So we should stick a decimal point here. So that's 0.35. So we get 0.35 over 1.4, right?
Right.
Now we can do a long division, right? Where you go 1.4 into that. But we know that, look, you can't divide by a decimal. Like this denominator must be a whole number, right? So what I'm going to do just for fun is I'm going to multiply that guy by 10 over 10, right? So I'm going to go 0.35 over 1.4. And I'm just going to times it by 10 over 10 because I know that 1.4 times 10 gives what?
14.
14. Good. Like $1.40 times 10 is $14. And if I multiply the bottom by 10, must multiply top by 10, that gives me 3.5. Right. So now my long division is 14 into 3.5, right?
Right. Right. And then 14 goes into 35. And that would be
it doesn't.
I would say twice.
Well, yeah, you're right. Sorry, you're right. Yeah. 1435 goes twice. 2 4s 8. 2 times 2 is 2 times 1 is 2. And now subtract 34 minus 28.
Let's see,
35 minus 28, sorry.
Yeah, 28. So it would be 7.
7, yeah. And by the
Sorry.
way, this decimal point must go up here, right? Because it's kind of like 14
Yeah, the
into 3
0
goes
point,
0
yeah.
times, 14 into 35, 2 times. Yeah, remainder 7. And now what?
And then you got to add a 0 to
Yeah.
the
Got to
3.5.
put a 0 here, bring it down, and that's
Then bring
70.
it down 70. Yep.
So 14
then-
into 70?
I'm gonna say 5.
Yes. Good guess. 5 times 4 is 20, carry 2. 5 times
5 times
1 is
4.
5, plus 2 is 7. Subtract, and we get 0, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's remainder 0. So we get, this whole thing works out to be 0.25 is equal to x, right?
Okay, that makes a lot more.
Now-
That makes
now,
sense.
There's a better way of doing it. Let's do it another way just for fun. Remember when we had, let's write it, 0.5 times 0.7 over 1.4, just so we learn some more math here.
Okay.
We can actually cross cancel at this point. Like what's 7 goes into 7 and 14, doesn't it?
Yes, twice.
So what do you think 7 into 0.7 is, by the way?
1.
Yeah, it's 0.1 though, isn't it?
Oh, okay,
See
yeah.
what I mean? What's 7?
Yeah.
So 7 into 14 goes how many times?
0.2.
Yeah, 2 times, but we can go 0.2. See that?
Gotcha.
Right. So I mean, I'm just doing this to show another way, just for fun. Right. And so now you've got
it's
0.5
confusing
times
part is-
0.1, which is this 0.5 times 0.1. Right. And so what does that give us?
0.5.
Right. So 1 times 5 is 5. How many decimal points?
2.
1, 2. So 1, 2. Right.
So point
Point
0.05.
0.05. So we would have 0.05 over 0.2. Now, how do I make sure I don't have a decimal on the bottom here?
Move it over 1/10. So
Multiplied
move
by
it
what?
over 1 spot to the
Multiplied by
right.
what?
10.
10. Yeah. Multiplied the bottom by 10. So 0.2 times 10 is?
2.
Yeah. And I must multiply the top by 10. What's 0.05 times 10?
So it would be the decimal would go over 1, so it'd be in front of the 5.
Yep.
0.5.
0.5. Good. What's 50 cents divided by 2?
50 cents divided by 2, 0.25.
Yep. So it's kind of like 0.5 over 2 is like 0.5 over 2, so 0.25. Now, is that what we got last
I
time?
love that.
Right.
I like that. I really like that.
Yeah,
That makes
so
a lot
that's
of
an easier
sense.
way. But there's lots of ways. We could find other ways as well. I mean, yep. There's lots of
Yeah,
ways.
no, I really that way I enjoy that. My
Sure.
problem is that I keep doing things backwards.
No problem. And just for fun, I can't help but checking, because if I was to check this,
No, that's
it's
great.
0.5 over 0.25. And is that equal to, say, I put in place of x, I put our 0.25, right? And we're asking,
Right, where the
is
x
that
is.
equal to the
1.4
1.4 over 0.7, right? Well,
Yes.
I'm going to work on these, like, just for fun. What can I multiply this thing by just to make it more manageable, just for fun? Like,
2? No, 10.
let's say we wanted a whole number on the bottom here.
So it'd be by 10.
10, right? Okay, so multiply that by 10 over 10 and we get what?
7.
7 here, and what's
14.
on the top? 14. What's 14 over 7?
2.
2. Good. So to make this guy more manageable, what could we multiply it by?
100.
Yeah, 100. Because 0.25 times 100 is?
25.
Yeah. And 0.5 times 100 is?
50.
Yeah, 50 cents times 100 is $50. Now what do we have?
Oh, $50. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, 50 over 25, which is?
So, I'm sorry, what?
Keep going. What does this make?
So 50, it's a half.
No, it's not a half. Try again.
25 goes into 50 twice. And so 2 over 1? So 2.
Yeah, so that's 2. See? So it worked out, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So
I see
the
what you mean,
answer
yes.
did check. 0.25 is correct, right? Because it's you end up with 2 on both sides, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so the next one is